All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to EMAS Sports. So, officially, we do have a four-peat, here at the Boston Metro Baseball League, and we're here with John Jones from the Metrowest Orioles to talk all about it. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Whitney. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've also had a busy championship season. So we'll get right into it because we've got a lot to talk about. And so first off, congrats on winning your two championships. But let's start with the Metro West first. So you guys completed a very rare four-peat, winning your 17th title as a franchise, meaning the Metro West Orioles in the 28 plus Metro division. So what was your reaction to winning, and which player do you believe was the MVP of the series and why?
So you know, first and foremost, it is a four-peat. I have to admit that I was only part of two of them, the past two seasons. So something special has been brewing for a very long time with the Metro West Orioles. I happened to be able to hook on in tournament play 4 or 5 years ago, and then in league play a couple of years ago. So that's first and foremost. Um, I look back at some of the history of the Metro West League, and no other team has won more than 2 years in a row. So there's been a couple repeats, but the Orioles are the only team to not only three-peat, but also now four-peat. So the history there is excellent, obviously. Um, as far as the team is concerned, we're just a team full of leaders. Everybody on the team not only has talent, but has character. And the entire team has chemistry. And chemistry is oftentimes one of the number one things of a championship team. You have to have chemistry, guys that pick each other up when they're down, don't get on top of each other for making a mistake, so you can play loose and play happy and play fun. And that's a big part of the Orioles ball club. It starts with um, Dickie Scaleri. I mean, he is, I don't know if you know Dickie, but he's just recently turned 84 years old. The guy is a machine. He's been on the Orioles roster since the conception 31 years ago. And he comes down every Sunday and throws batting practice and coaches third base. So if you have anybody that you need to look up to on a team, I mean, Dickey's the first guy you got to look to. He's been part of all 17 championships for the Orioles, which is quite an amazing feat. And the fact that he throws baseballs every Sunday is truly remarkable. Um, so that's where I'd start. Well, I'd love to say that we hang out all off season, but that's just not really true. You know, people have careers, people have families, everybody's in different stages of family life. Like I myself have four kids. They're my youngest is 13, my oldest is 23, and there's guys that just had babies recently. So there's not a lot of hanging out, so to speak, in the off season. But we have a text thread, the team's text thread that goes all year long. In fact, it blows up so much that I have to put it on mute so often that it's not, interrupting my work day and whatnot. And I catch up on the messages later. But we're just a tight group as far as humor, comedy, being able to razz each other, treat each other like family. And that's really what it comes down to. And then, February, March rolls around and we get together a couple times, a little bit of batting practice, a little bit of infield drills. And again, those are led by Dickie Scaleri, the 84-year-old hitting fungos inside on the turf. So, everything kind of, circles back to him as the amazing, 31-year veteran and leader of the team. And then, of course, we have Chris Curry, who's been running the team forever and has won so many championships himself. I don't know on the numbers, but Chris is he's the nuts and bolts of what keeps it going.
And of course, momentum is such a huge thing, and I've seen this across other teams that have won championships in this league. So kind of go back to August for a second. You guys you had a 16-1 record over the regular season, but what impressed me the most is you outscored teams 52 to 10 in the month of August, which is insane. And we'll get to the playoff stat, which is even more insane in a second. But just talking about how do you use that momentum in August to roll into September, I mean into the playoffs, and then basically steamroll into the championship as well. How what talk about how that worked, and what players or what components of your team were at the forefront of that momentum and that huge outscoring.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, you never want to limp into the playoffs, no matter what the circumstance, right? At any level, you want to win and start something special as you move into playoffs and play good fundamental baseball. We had one loss throughout the season. It was to the Northborough Cardinals, which is the team that's our nemesis. That's the team that we faced in the championship series. We just ran into a great pitcher that day. He's their number two pitcher technically behind Danny Quinn, and the guy just threw a stellar game. We only had a few hits on the day. I don't know how many runs we scored, but that happens. It just happens. It happened to us that day, and we never looked back. And it was probably good for us, to be honest with you, because when you're an undefeated team, sometimes that kind of gets in your head in the wrong way. So just coming into the playoffs, we just continue to do what we do best: play our fundamental baseball and hit the crap out of the ball. We're a pretty good offensive team. We know we can score runs against any pitcher. We do that often. We have a couple guys that can throw the rock, led by Steve Cataray, a former Boston College alum. And I mean, he's the best pitcher in the league, in my opinion. He did win the Cy Young this year, which was a much, kind of a much deserved award for him. But as a team, we're more about winning championships than we are about the individual accolades, and that's just the motto of the team.
Well, I thank you for talking about Steve because that was going to be one of my questions, and obviously, I'm sure it's not a surprise that he won that award to you at all.
It's not, he deserves it. His numbers are always there. He's always, clutch when we need him to be. He just hasn't won it the previous years. Him and Andy Quinn are pretty much the top two guys in the league every single season. Andy Quinn has taken the award more often than not, but we've taken the championships, and we've always kind of looked at it like that's the more important thing. So it was nice to see Steve get this one. He's earned it. He's deserved it. And as you know, you asked me about who I would make the MVP of the finals. It's hard to pick an MVP because honestly, we were all that good against their pitching. But throughout the regular season, as you know, Chris Curran just tore the league up. I mean, the kid won MVP hands down. I don't know what the voting looked like, but he's a former pro for the Washington Nationals. He made it to Double A, and he just hit the ball all year long. And I don't know what his batting average was or stats were. You could probably tell me on that, but he just crushed it all season. And he just came off like a 4 or 5 year hiatus from playing baseball, which is pretty incredible if you think about it. The benefit of getting the number one seed is that you play the 4 seed, which in theory is supposed to be the team with maybe less pitching. So there's a benefit to getting that 1 seed and maybe having that quote unquote easier schedule to start off. But I mean, you know, we have a lot of veteran guys. Like, so Chris Dean, guy's been in the league for a million years. He's in the BMBL Hall of Fame. I believe he's in the Semi-Pro Hall of Fame. He got a couple clutch hits, one to tie a game when we needed it. Um, we had Rob Santilli who had to take a month off because his hamstrings were bothering him, and he came back and was getting on base, half the time, hitting the ball all over the field. And then you got Brian Curran, who's Chris Curran's little brother. I mean, the kid's a superstar. Brian is a superstar in many leagues, and sometimes just overshadowed by how good Chris is. Chris in one of the championship games hit a ball. We measured it out on Google Maps. It was like 420 feet. I mean, it's just it's an amazing talent. So both of them are fantastic. We got the Ferrucci brothers, Brian and Adam. We just have 1 through 10 we can hit. Our leader of our team, our captain, is our catcher, Paul Goodwin. Goody. He comes from a long history of baseball success, and he's our team leader. He's our catcher. He unfortunately strained a muscle down the Cape and had to take some time off too. And when he came back, admittedly, he was probably 80% in the championship series, and he still performed, as good as any catcher in the league. So the team's just loaded with talent from 1 through 9. We don't have a weakness.
Yeah, and then pitching wise, I mean, this has to be one of your biggest strengths as well. 1.93 RA in the regular season, only 28 runs allowed, both tops in the league, and then 97 strikeouts, which is second most. So just talk about why pitching is so important to your team. Obviously, you've kind of hit on a couple of of your pitchers, including Cadet or Steve Cadet, who won the Cy Young this year. But like, why is that such an important part? And what kind of confidence and momentum does that give to your offense that is already, as good as it is, as we just talked about earlier?
Yeah, so Steve Cataray, he's our number one. Brian Lindsay is our number two. It's a two-headed monster. Um, Steve, we call him Scuba Steve because the way he walks and runs, it's funny. He's a Boston College alum, so he's a phenomenal pitcher. He throws mid to high 80s. He's got a filthy curveball and a very good changeup. He just mixes the pitches. He doesn't walk a lot of guys, and he's really hard to hit. And when he's on, you're not going to hit him. He had a game last year where he had 19 strikeouts. Unfortunately, we didn't hit for him, and it was a low scoring game. And actually, he ended up losing the game like 2-1 last season. But I mean, he's just phenomenal. Brian Lindsay, he's another guy, been in the league forever. He's a totally different pitcher than Steve. He throws sweepers and risers and balls that run in on your hands. It's like a wiffle ball coming out of his hands. And so the change of speeds is drastic from you go from hitting Steve for a game and now to Brian Lindsay for a game. And the speed difference is drastic, but the movement is also drastically different. And then, I don't want to, not mention Kevin Allegrezza, who I think you interviewed early this year. Technically, he'd be our number 3 guy. Threw a no hitter earlier in the year. Kevin's a guy that's been around for a long time. He doesn't walk guys and just mixes pitches and throws really well. We didn't need him in this real playoff run, and it's a good thing because he has a AC joint separation in his shoulder from down the Cape. He dove for a ball, separated his shoulder. So I don't know how much good he would have been to us had it come down to it. But those are our top 3 technical starters. Then we get a couple guys like Brian Curran, Nick Dill, who can come in and throw some relief innings.
Well, first off, apologies to Steve because I did not mean to mess up your last name.
I'm sure
Um,
it happens all the time.
Yeah, and I literally just read it really quickly and messed up. So my bad. Before anybody comes at me in the comment section. So anyways, no, I mean I should have him on my podcast at some point as well. I mean, like I said, this league is full of great stories with people from all over that I can't wait to have on this podcast eventually. It's just going to be a matter of time. So
Mm-hmm.
from Steve to literally, I mean, you guys have a whole lineup full of people that I literally can interview. And so I'm going to try to make sure I do that over the course of the next couple of years.
Literally, you can
Excited
put a
to do
bunch of
that.
names on a dartboard and just throw a dart and see which one it hits.
Exactly. So yeah, no, it should be fun. And like I said, there's so many great stories to tell out there, not just your team, but across the entire league. So I look forward to doing that
Mm-hmm.
as this podcast develops. So um, just to turn things to you for a second. So you personally were tied for second on the team in both hits and runs scored this postseason with 4 each. Walk us through your approach at the plate and just how much you contribute to this team because you were telling me earlier that you obviously have different roles on the team and can play different positions. So how does that all combine together? And just yeah, describe your approach at the plate.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't even know. I don't know what my stats were for the season, regular season or postseason. As far as an approach to the plate, I always just try to go to the plate with a smart approach based on the situation in the game. I try to look to get my pitch to hit. It's really not rocket science. But I'm going to kind of walk you through the most crucial, most important at bat in the entire series. Game 1 of the championship. We had just relinquished our 3-1 lead in the 5th and 6th innings. The Cardinals took a 4-3 lead going into the bottom of the 7th, and I had to lead. I had to lead the inning off in the bottom of the 7th, down 4-3 against the second best pitcher in the league, in Andy Quinn, based on Cy Young voting. And Andy's a smart pitcher, really good, throws pretty hard from the left side of the plate, has a good curveball, also has a changeup, spots his pitch as well. Um, I kind of thought, maybe I should take a strike in this approach. We're down 1 run. It's the 7th inning. We're at our last at bats, and fundamentally, sometimes that's what you want to do. But Andy's the guy that doesn't walk guys either, so I didn't really want to give him a strike either. So I went up there with the approach that on the first pitch, if I got the pitch that I wanted to hit, I was swinging. Fortunately, he didn't throw me the pitch I wanted to hit. He threw me a curveball. It was good. It missed by a little bit. Now I'm ahead in a 1-0 count. So now my approach changes. I said, all right, I'm 1-0. So I'm going to take a strike. So I let the next pitch go, And I kind of faked like I was going to maybe drag a bunt, which is not something I do very often. But unfortunately, I'm a dead pull hitter a lot of the time, and the third baseman, I was trying to draw him in a step or two, because if I can get him to come in one or two steps, it just gives me a few more feet to blow a ball by him. He didn't really bite on it. The pitch was a strike. Wasn't really the pitch I would have loved to hit anyway. So now I'm in a 1-1 count. Um, I let the next two pitches go. They just missed. They were just out of the zone. Now I have 3-1 count. Now I have the pitch coming that I want. I need to get on. If it's there, I'm going to swing. And it was there, and I swung, and I did not miss it. I hit the second hardest ball of the day, hit by anybody, and it traveled over the center fielder's head by a lot. And that center fielder is one of the top three outfielders in the entire league. He had a good beat on it, couldn't quite get to it. The ball would have been out of any park that we play at that has a fence. Unfortunately, where we were playing that day, it didn't have a fence. Ended up being a stand-up double, but that's the start to the inning that we needed. I'm the tying run. There's no outs. I'm on second. We need to tie this game first and foremost, and if we can walk it off and win it, then great. And that's exactly what happened. We tied the game. We walked it off and won it. I don't know who got the game-winning hit, but it was a total team effort and just theatrical. It was such an awesome way to win game one, and almost you wish it kind of was game two, because you'd love for the series to come down to a finish like that. But it was such an important game. If we don't win that game in game one, even if we do win game two, now we're forced to go to game three the following week, and we have the same pitching matchup: Andy Quinn versus Steve Cataray, and on any given Sunday, anything happen. So that's just kind of the type of mindset I have at the plate in that one specific at bat, because it always changes. It's an evolving process. You were at the game, you're probably like, what the heck is he dragging a bunt for? I was never dragging a bunt. I was taking a strike. I was just trying to get the third baseman to come in a step or two. I don't bunt for hits very often, and they probably knew that. But at the same time, my mind, I was going to give him the strike already, so it's just worth a shot.
All right. Well, last question on the Orioles, because I want to make sure I give this guy some love. Chris Curry, your manager, obviously is an important part of your team as well. So describe how important he is to your team in your own words, and what kind of leadership he brings to the table. With winning all the championships that you've won.
Um, yeah, I mean, Chris does a really good job recruiting. He recruits guys that he knows are going to blend well personality wise with the team, guys of high character, guys that are going to, come in and not just add baseball talent, but add something from their standpoint of their personality. So that's important, because again, that chemistry you don't want it to change. Um, you know, I started playing for Chris for the Orioles in 2021 down the Cape. After having switched from, I formerly played for Club Franz, or the Townies, or whatever you want to call them. We were the Boston Shamrocks, the Townies, Club Franz. There was many different names, but it was basically the Boston-based team. And I switched to the Orioles, and Chris welcomed me with open arms. He's the type of guy that he generally will try to instill confidence in you. And he basically tells you he wants you to be in that situation when the time is up, and helps you kind of mentally know that you're going to have the confidence to get through moments. So he does a good job mentally preparing players and bringing on guys that have good moral character and good chemistry with the guys that already exist, and that's the biggest thing. He knows how to coach the game too, so that's pretty important as well.
Okay, and then to switch topics, obviously you've now won two championships this year, in the 45 plus division with the South Shore Giants, for the Boston Amateur Baseball League, for those unfamiliar that are watching. Who is the driving force behind that team's championship success, both offensively and on the mound, that helped you do what you did?
So the team is run by a couple guys, Jose Aquino, Sean Ross, um, John Robles. They're kind of like the three leaders as far as managing the team, coaching the team, and recruiting for the team. They kind of all have different roles. Jose Aquino's dad is also part of the team. We call him Classico. His name is Carlos Aquino. He's 70 something years old, still plays in several leagues and pitches, and loves to be around the game and the guys. So those four guys are the leaders of the program. Um, and again, we just have a lot of talent. We have a lot of talent on that team. Most of the guys on the team are Latino. I'd say probably 70%. You got myself and Scotty Isaacs. Sean Ross is a pitcher. I mean, I don't want to leave people out, but it's like a 70% Latino team, and a lot of time they're speaking Spanish, and I don't know what the heck they're saying. Despite the fact that I've been on the team for 4 years or 5 years, well, I don't even know, 5 years or so now, I still haven't picked up many words except the ones that you're not supposed to say.
Okay, and then if you guys had an impressive win, that for the Giants, what's your most impressive win of the season, both in the regular season and postseason, and why? And kind of what was the defining moment in each one that kind of will, be with you forever because of it?
That's a tough question. So during the regular season, they play 14, 13, 14 games. You have to be at 50% in order to be playoff eligible. So, admittedly, I made it to 7 out of the 13 or whatever we played, 12, 13 we played, to just make sure I was above that 50% threshold. Um, we beat a lot of teams pretty handily. I think we were 11-1 in the regular season. I don't know who we lost to be honest with you. I could tell you more about the game that I was at that we lost where nobody hit the ball against a guy that was throwing really slow, more than I could tell you about how we just pounded teams. We played the Woburn Nationals, who are a very strong team in the finals. And game one was a closer game. It was 5-3. Played at Fraser Field. It was a good game. Well pitched on both sides. Some timely hitting. The second game, we just kind of poured the runs on, and beat them fairly handily in game two.
Besides the Giants and Orioles, what other teams impressed you across the divisions that you were able to watch in the postseason, in both the BNBL and the Baseball Amateur League that you were a part of with the Giants? Like anyone that had a impressive performance, because there were a lot of games, especially in the BNBL, that were live streamed. So I don't know if there was any that you were watching that kind of stood out, and why did that performance stand out?
Yeah, I mean, in the BABL, they don't live stream anything. The other team that is usually impressive is the Situate Mariners. So the Woburn National, Situate Mariners, South Shore Giants, probably the top three teams in the BABL. As far as the BMBL and the Masters level, I mean that league is loaded with talent. I mean that league is honestly, if you could find me another 38 plus league around the country that would rival that league's best teams, I'd be pretty surprised, because you got the Boston Cardinals, you got the Bulls. They played in the championship. The Boston Cardinals came into it with the best pitching staff in the league, and the Bulls just poured on the hits, just hit them, hit them, hit them, and won the series. So those two teams are fantastic. The Milton Breakers are excellent. They have really good pitching. They have really good hitting. There's nobody in that lineup that you want to face. My team was the Alabrandies. We scored the second highest runs in the league. We were the number 3 seed. Unfortunately, we bowed out early in the playoffs to the South Shore Mariners, who were led up by Brian Curran from my Orioles team. And Matty Borges. I mean, they played really well in the playoffs and knocked us out. So that's 4 or 5 teams right there, and that before you even talk about Avi Nelson and their pitching staff. Before you talk about the next team would be Metro Red Sox, and Sammy Steed and that team. I mean, that team, that league is really deep for a 38 plus league, and I love playing in it. I wish the BMBL could somehow get a 45 plus division as we're starting to age, because it's something that might be a good thing in the making, I guess, because the only thing that offers the 45 plus is the BABL. So maybe that's coming down the road someday. Who knows? As far as the Metro West League, the other team we played what's the team? The team from the Red Sox, the Marlboro Red Sox, and the Worcester Nationals. Those teams are pretty good. That's some good pitchers. So some other teams that stand out in my mind. I don't play in the 28 plus Boston League anymore. I used to. Played a lot of years with the South Shore Spartans, and before that with the Braintree Braves. I'm a little bit out of touch with that league, but I did enjoy seeing the Expos and the Senators play this year. It was some good baseball, and I enjoyed watching that on live stream. The Senators actually asked me earlier in the year if I wanted to fill in a couple times on roster spots. I just couldn't make it happen. So it's good to see them win.
Okay, and then if you want to look in the future in 2026, while the Giants and Orioles repeat as champions, and especially obviously the Orioles potentially going for five in a row, I know it's very hard to get that many in a row, and it's hard to predict the future. But if you had to name one reason why each team would win another championship and go back to back, or like I said in the Orioles case, five in a row, what would it be and why?
Well, I can tell you that I already know Coach Curry has been in talks with a few new young recruits. As every year you flip a page as the year turns, and you got to get a little bit of youth. If you don't get somewhat younger, you're going to eventually age out and not be able to compete. So we have a lot of guys that are getting older for that league. So you got to bring in some younger blood, and I know he's in the process of doing that. I'm sure the North Bar Cardinals are too, because they hate losing to us. They absolutely hate losing to us. We know it. They know we know it, and they're probably out there recruiting someone right now. And I hope they are. To be honest with you, because I want to play them again, and I want to have a great championship run out of both teams. The South Shore Giants, we're called the South Shore Giants Foundation. We do some great things charity wise. Yeah, if you've ever heard of it, Carlos Escaño kind of technically leads it up. He collects used baseball equipment every year at the end of the year. So I have some cleats I'm going to donate. I have some clothes I'm going to donate, some baseballs, maybe a bat. We'll see. And he boxes it all up and he sends it to the Dominican Republic in the off season. And we're talking, several boxes of gently used good baseball equipment for the kids in the Dominican that just don't have anything. And it's something that kind of brings tears to their eyes when they see that shipment come in because it's just something they can't afford, something they don't have. And that's done through the South Shore Giants. And that's the type of mentality that team has. Is it charitable, family oriented, help the community, help each other through tough times. And we've actually had several guys go through some tough times personally off the field. And that team has kind of helped people succeed in life. And that's an important thing. A few people have passed away, and that's been tough on some people. But having those relationships in, with one another is hugely important. It's important to mention we're going to the Roy Hobbs 45 plus World Series at the end of this month for South Shore Giants Foundation. And last year we had a very solid team. We made it to the quarterfinals of our division. This year, hoping to go a little further. We've added some good talent to hopefully get us there. What we realized is last year we had like 16 guys, and you really need 20 guys. You play about 8 to 10 baseball games that are 9 innings each in 7 days. So we'll be heading out there in about 2 weeks, and that's just another thing to look forward to from my South Shore Giants family. So.
Yeah, and just to kind of finish up, because that's a great way into this next question is what can fans watching, expect from both, the Boston Amateur Baseball League down the road as well as the BNBL, and why should they come watch games, whether it's live stream or in person? So if you want to just have the final word on that and just talk to the people watching why they should come watch games.
For the most part, it's good fundamental baseball. We have fun doing it. Hopefully, it's entertaining. We're pretty, we're pretty proud of the way we hit. If you could grab a couple adult beverages and sit on the sidelines on a nice summer night, I guess it's a good way to spend a Thursday night or whatever. Live streaming is pretty cool. I'd love to be able to get some of our Giants games down in Fort Myers live streamed, especially on Monday. We're playing at JetBlue Ballpark. Supposedly the schedule is out, but it's not been 100% finalized yet. So we can't say for sure, but we're going to be playing at JetBlue Ballpark down there, and then at all the minor league fields as well. So maybe we can get that game live streamed, and hopefully it'll be entertaining. And maybe there's a couple guys on the roster that might be able to challenge that Green Monster at JetBlue.